everything that it wants us to go over is about the case. So would one of you guys mind giving kind of like a short recap of what the case went over? Does anyone want to volunteer to do that?
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, so this guy was in his office kind of early in the morning working on a project, and when he went to and she talks about how her boss, this engineer that overheard the conversation, kind of one of the colleagues, I don't know if didn't really say if he was that guy's boss as well, but just that, you know, he had made suggestive comments, and when they were alone, he had rubbed up against her, and then just the other day, he had put his hand inside her shirt. And so she was, you know, talking with her presumably sister about, you know, she was trying to get a transfer, but the engineer that overheard it knows that with the merger of the two companies, transfer is probably not very likely. So he really didn't know what to do. So he called the company's legal department, and they said he was obligated to call the EEO office and report it, and that they would investigate it. And he was really concerned because he thought, you know, she probably doesn't want it known, but maybe she wants help. You know, when there's that boss and subordinate relationship, that's usually how sexual harassers take advantage of other people. So he was kind of conflicted on what he should do. And so then he ended up talking to her. She pleaded with him not to tell her boss. Later on in the day, he ran into her boss at lunch, and he just felt really awkward with that. So he's at the point now, you know, what does he do? The lawyer said that if he didn't do something and later on it came out that he knew, the company could be liable for knowing about a harassment situation and not taking any action. So that's where we are now. He's very conflicted, worried that he'll hurt her job and you know, exposing a colleague for sexual harassment.
I thought that was perfect. Thanks, London. From what you guys read and what you kind of thought about the whole situation, do you think it would constitute sexual harassment?
For sure. He stuck his hand down her shirt.
Right.
Ditto what she said, what Lexi said, for sure.
I think. Do you guys think she would have enough proof to bring it forth, or evidence, I guess, that she can make a sexual harassment claim?
I don't think she can, because it's mostly her word at this point. She would have to get somebody to see the action, or maybe, I mean, he does it when no one's around and he's very careful, so he probably doesn't do it with any cameras around. He'll just have to stage something, or maybe put it like an audio something on her that would record it, because right now I don't think she has substantial evidence.
Yeah, I wonder if they might do that. Like if it brought forth an investigation, maybe if she talked about it, maybe they would do one of those types of things.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually do like sting operations where they set somebody up.
I don't know. That'd be kind of
That's
cool.
what I was thinking. I was thinking, you know, now that he knows and she knows that he knows, you know, maybe they could kind of set it up to get some evidence.
Yeah. From the reading, it also talked about there's the two types of sexual harassment or claims that you can make. There's the quid pro quo and then the hostile work environment. Which one do you guys think it would fall under if she did make that claim?
I would assume hostile work environment because the quid pro pro is like, if you don't do this, I'll fire you. It's like holding something over them or threatening them. The harassment part of it is he's constantly saying stuff or doing physical things to harass her. So that's what I think it falls under.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too, is they just don't have enough information or like enough specific, accurate things to point down and say that it's quid pro.
I think it's implied that it's quid pro, even if he hasn't said, I'll fire you if you don't do this for me. With a superior and a subordinate, I don't think it has to be said. I think it's implied that he can fire her, or he can not promote her, or he can, do something because of his position.
Yeah, I think it said in there that she was afraid that he might fire her if she said something.
The difference between quid pro quo and a hostile work environment, if the same thing were done by a coworker, then it would be considered a hostile work environment because there's no repercussions per se that a coworker could impinge on their employment.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's good. I hadn't thought of that because it could be implied that way. What did you guys think about his phone call? What was his name? DaCosta. Do you think that he got good advice from the lawyer that he was talking to?
I think so. Until I read it, I hadn't really thought about doing that. I was kind of right alongside with him, like, man, what do you do? And I thought that was a good call to call them. I do think the corporate attorney should have been a little more accommodating and maybe initiating the investigation so this guy doesn't get stuck in the middle or have repercussions on him.
I understand. Isn't it part of his responsibility to go to the EEOC because he knows about it? He also liable because he knows information it's something he needs to share. Not so much the company, more on him.
I thought that was one interesting thing when I was reading through the articles. Like, not most of the time they can't actually go back and sue the individuals. Most of the time they're going back and suing the company, which I thought was strange. I didn't know that about the whole sexual harassment policies, that they can't actually go after the singular person. Once in a while they can if it's in the state, but mostly they file the federal complaints and it only goes against the company.
I agree with Norman that I thought that the lawyer was protecting the company, but I thought that she could have gave a little more better advice on a personal level about how to handle the situation. But yeah, I thought she gave him, told him what to do, and her job is to protect the company. So
she could have been probably a little more empathetic, I'm guessing. I feel like she didn't really have much empathy at this point. The way she was describing like the process, she could have told him more like, I understand you're feeling this way. Can you try to picture how this woman feels in this hostile work environment?
That's cool.
Well, here's another awkward thing. She mentioned her husband.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if her husband finds out and goes in with an assault rifle and kills 20 people?
Yeah.
Just another twist to this already twisted case.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, because then who's liable? Like, he kind of has that on his conscience. Like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said something.
Yeah.
But then what if her husband finds out and then he goes and sues the company too? Finds out in some other roundabout way, like his sister tells him.
I've got some experience with this. I've had a couple of security companies, and the last one we did surveillance companies, mainly industrial.
Mm-hmm.
And And one of the top 5 reasons why businesses get surveillance cameras is to protect against sexual harassment, and not just to show who's at fault, but we actually had some clients that a few months after they got their cameras installed, one of the ladies that worked at the firm made a sexual harassment claim, and they went back and looked at some video, and she was actually kind of sexually harassing guys in the office. So and her husband, I think, was the one that made the claim. And when her and her husband came in, they showed them the video, and they dropped the claim the next day. So, there's things companies can do to protect themselves. Because one of the things we told people is, all somebody has to do is make an allegation, and it's going to cost your company $50,000, whether it's accurate or not, just to defend yourself with your attorneys.
I thought that was interesting, like the back pay, like it can go all the way up to like 300,000 in fees and all that. Like the company could be liable for that much money.
Yeah.
I don't get why the companies are liable like that. I don't understand why it's not the harasser's fault. Like, why didn't the harasser have to pay all this? Like, I don't understand why it's the company's fault. Like, if they knew about it, I understand at that point, but maybe they don't know about it. I don't think that's, I don't know.
Yeah, there's kind of a legal argument that businesses are obligated to provide a safe working environment, and originally, that goes back to the sweatshop days and OSHA and hard hats and guards on blades and things like that. So they can't enforce all the safety things. So they really pushed the enforcement of workplace laws onto the employers by making the employers liable if they don't provide that type of work environment. So I think it's mainly government wants to have employers be the enforcement, basically, because they just can't. They don't have the manpower to enforce all the laws on the books.
That kind of makes sense. Kind of, yeah, like you said, they just don't have, CEO doesn't have all the time and resources to control everything. So I guess if you're a company, you're like, well, we could be sued, makes you a little bit nervous, and you think that, okay, we need to actually start doing sexual harassment trainings and maybe put up the video cameras, do everything that you can to make sure that you don't get sued. So I think really gives incentive to the companies. So it wants us to determine, kind of take a vote. Which of you guys, who thinks that he should report this incident still to the company's EEO office, and who thinks that he should just stay quiet and say nothing about it?
I think he should report it.
Okay.
Yeah, I vote to report. Their experience in handling these types of issues, so they know how to protect the worker from being fired and the sensitivity of the issue.
Yeah, I would also say definitely tell, because I know at BYU Idaho, if your roommate's doing something that is against the honor code and that person is caught and they find out that you knew about it, you can also get kicked out. So I feel like, and at this point, it was saying that he I think I could be wrong, but it said, I think in the story, that he could be liable or something if it goes undetected and he doesn't talk about it. So I would definitely turn it in.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that at this point he has to, after calling the lawyer and knowing exactly what will happen if he doesn't do it. So I think that he should have anyways, but that adds to it.
So since we're all unanimous in saying that he should report it, what if you guys put yourself in DeCosta's shoes? What would you say to Julia Martinez? Because he said they talked to her later that day. What would you guys end up saying to her?
You know what? I would also say you are probably not the only one who's had this experience. This is a problem that needs to be taken care of, no matter what the cost is. And try to assure her that she's not going to lose her job and livelihood. But, I mean, you can't promise anything.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely say that too. I was like, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for all the other potential victims in the future.
I agree. I hadn't actually even thought about that. That's true, because there could be a lot more people that could be in that same situation. Who knows what would happen?
Yeah, because I remember being a similar situation, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to like tattletale, and it's like it's in the past. But then all my friends and roommates were like, you do know that he's doing this to other girls, right? Like you're not just the only one. And what if those girls aren't strong enough, or they don't know how to get out of situations like that? Like their lives or anything could be in danger. And then that was the only reason that like I went and I told someone, was because I didn't want other girls to have to go through a similar situation, even though I was like, like I got out of the situation, it was fine, like nothing happened. But it's like I just want to prevent any future damages.
Definitely a good motivation to do it.
Yeah, I think the whole motivation behind Julia is that she just doesn't want to get fired, and she doesn't want her husband to find out about it. And so I think she just was really scared about it and may not even know kind of the whole legal process. That's one thing I was thinking about, is like she didn't get to talk to the lawyer, didn't get to understand any of these things. So she may not know that, well, there may be a chance that you may not get fired. If you have some proof or we can come up with evidence, then you'll still be able to keep your job.
And I hope from this situation, if she's worried about her husband being violent, I hope that she leaves him, because this is a good indicator of what he's going to be like in the future. Violent. And I feel like from this situation, she should learn a ton more than just sexual harassment.
I think also just going and telling her the truth, that she's probably not going to get that transfer, and that this problem's just not going to go away, and telling her that this is like the only way that we can help stop this problem.
Okay. Once he filed, do you think he should have Julia file the complaint, or should Dakota actually file it? Should he encourage her to file it?
I think he should file it, because I don't know if she's going to.
Yeah. This is just kind of my own thoughts. Which one do you guys think would be more powerful, coming from her, or would it matter at all?
Well, he doesn't really have any firsthand information about it. So, I mean, that's one of the most difficult things about, going full circle with this and actually having something happen. If the victim is unwilling to come forward or make statements or something like that, him saying what he heard her say on the phone, she could have been setting up her boss because she didn't like her boss. Who knows?
And I think even if he reports it first to the EOCC, am I saying that right?
EEOC, I think.
Yeah, that one. I think even if he reports it, they'll do an investigation anyways. So if she's unwilling, they'll contact her and they'll go through it all.
She could also deny it too if they do an investigation, and then all of a sudden, DeCoste or whatever, or the other guy, I'm not good at names, but he could be like, oh, well, she could say he just made up the whole entire story, and then now he's liable for making up stuff that is not true.
We should call up that girl's sister then.
Yeah.
Let her out.
One thing that kind of stuck out to me when I was reading through this is on the phone call, she never actually said her boss's name. She just said that her boss was harassing her. And then even when he was talking to her, he said, and I'm really, really sorry about whatever is happening to you. And Then DeCoste's voice trailed off. Somehow it didn't seem right to use Ron's familiar name, so he gestured awkwardly to the office next to his. So they never actually confirmed that it was the Ron French. So I think before he goes and reports it, he may have to make sure that he has all the facts straight. Because that was something that was worrying me. Like, if I was going to go that, like, make the report, I'd want to make sure that, okay, am I making the report against the right guy?
Yeah.
Or is there a higher up boss that's actually doing it?
Yeah. Did you guys take the quiz?
Yeah. Is that where it was?
Yeah, there's that problem in there that talked about that, and it made me think for a second. Maybe it wasn't that Ron guy. Maybe it was someone else. And so, yeah, I kind of had those same thoughts.
It was totally wrong. He sounds like a dirty guy.
Just fits. Oh, so I think one thing, this is what it wants us to talk about, is the company's sexual harassment policy. It didn't talk a lot about it in the reading, but they kind of want us to come up with a potential sexual harassment policy. And so I don't know where Norman just went, but so Jerem, if you want to, so I'm going to assign each of you guys kind of a role, and then I want you just
Norman
to take.
got offended by my joke, so.
Maybe. He's like, I'm out of here.
Go. So they want us. So I'll assign each of you guys like a character, and then just take a second and think about what would be the most important thing in a sexual harassment policy for you, if you were that person. So, Jerem, if you were the potential victim of harassment, and then Lexi, if you were the accused harasser, and then Zeb, if you want to be the bystander, and then I'll be the legal counsel. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
do you want me to tell you?
Do you want me? Oh, sorry.
Anyone can go first. Whatever. I'll just pull it up so I can type it out.
I would say the most important things in there for me would be that I wouldn't lose my job if I reported the problem, that I'd get equal treatment, and that just a safe environment that I could go to and not feel like my job was on the line. Something like that.
What do you think about the interview? What would you like to see happen in the interview?
What do you mean the interview? Like,
I guess the investigation. Sorry, not interview.
Oh, the investigation. Oh, I'd like to see that it would be fair, that they would, I don't know, kind of like what you guys said earlier, we'll go and maybe try to prove him guilty rather than to prove him innocent.
Okay. Lexi, if you were accused as the harasser, what kind of things would you like in a sexual harassment policy?
Definitely something that would make it not as easy to put a claim against me. Definitely something that would say they need like physical evidence or like a video of me sexually harassing them, or like 2 witnesses or something like that. I definitely want a lot of background, because I don't want people just to say like, oh, she did this, and then all of a sudden I have a lawsuit against my hands just because one person said some little thing. So definitely physical evidence being like a big part of the claim.
Okay.
And for me, I think it'd be important that there's training that teaches like what happens. So for me, if I was someone who witnessed, which I was in this case, sexual harassment, that I would know exactly what I needed to do, who I needed to contact, and how I was supposed to proceed with that, especially since it's a sensitive thing. So for me, it would just be a list of procedures that I could follow.
And I'd almost say the same thing. Like, if I was a legal counsel, I would want to know okay, what exactly, I'd want like a very detailed out process, like, okay, this is step 1, this is step 2, almost like very basic, and this is what things are supposed to do. And then also, I think we talked a little bit about it, is have like scheduled trainings of like, okay, we're gonna have sexual harassment trainings once a month or every other month. You just have a specific schedule on maybe some type of discrimination to where you train the people on that. Because I think as an employer, if you have those trainings, not only does it remove your liability a little bit, but it also, I think, decrease the amount of incidents that you're going to have. Norman, we were just talking about some things that should be part of a sexual harassment policy. Are there any that you can think of that you would, what are some important parts of a sexual harassment policy? Oh. You might not be there. Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, I think he froze up.
We'll skip that one.
Or
Let's see.
really deep thought process.
All right. Oh, maybe you're coming back.
Is this gonna ruin our recording?
I don't know if he's the one that set it up.
Still says live up in the corner, so
Yeah,
hopefully we're good.
That'd be good. Okay.
As long as some of us are still alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys want to hear what actually happened in the end of this case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it says, when Jack called the corporate office, he forgot about the caller ID. So the lawyer used that contact information that he gave to her to figure out who he was talking about. And then the lawyer contacted the Lone Star EEO, which launched a formal investigation. The EEO tried hard to get Martinez to cooperate, and French denied all charges, claiming that Martinez had made up the story to protect herself from pending layoffs. DeCoste was asked for evidence, but he didn't have any. Julia Martinez's husband found out what was going on, beat up Julia, and forced her to quit. French survived the investigation with only a bruised reputation. He blamed everything on DeCoste for calling corporate counsel. There was so much animosity between DeCoste and French that DeCoste left the company after 3 months. So
I hope she leaves her husband.
You should just write a whole separate ending to this story, Lexi.
Terrible.
So violent.
Yeah, it did not go down good for anybody, it sounds like.
Goodness.
Everything went wrong. Let's see. It asked what was Lone Star's sexual harassment policy. Did it say in the reading at all what it was? Did it list what their policy was?
I think it just said that they'd launch a formal investigation.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I mean, we kind of already talked about it. Like the things that, what else do you think would have helped improve the situation for Jack or made things easier for Jack DeCoste in this whole situation?
Maybe staying out of it after now knowing the result, but I think they maybe should have tried to gather evidence, because if they would have had solid evidence, I think it would have been much better for all of them.
True.
Yeah, that kind of stinks that they tracked him down without him even wanting them to know. And then that's what caused all this, is that they just didn't have evidence. And they jumped the gun pretty much.
I'd be frustrated because it says the lawyer just used the caller ID and kind of the general information to kind of figure out who he was talking about. And so the lawyer was just going off of a guess, more or less. Like, Norman, you missed out on that little part, but we went through the actual scenario of what happened in the end. And more or less, nothing went good. Yeah, so.
I feel like the intentions were pure. Like her tracking the caller ID, she was probably in her mind thinking, I gotta save this lady. Like, I feel for her.
Yeah. And
in the end, she just ended up hurting people.
So So maybe it sounds like there wasn't that great of an investigation that went on then.
Well, that's why people don't report it as much as it should, because of, they just don't trust the company to handle it confidentially. They don't trust that, justice, because they don't have any evidence, that type of thing. That's why I think a lot of perpetrators can get away with it.
So overall, what do you guys think was the most important thing to learn from this case?
That there needs to be sexual harassment policies and a way to actually determine the truth of what's going on in a company.
Definitely build up evidence. Yeah, because my situation, it was my word against his, and because I didn't have any evidence, nothing happened. So definitely in any future situation I am in, definitely either take a recording, take a video, get someone around you to see what's happening. Definitely just evidence and more eyes so that it's not your word against his.
So what would have happened if she would have admitted that those things were happening? Because it said that Hernandez didn't ever admit that that was happening.
That she didn't really cooperate.
Yeah, she didn't really cooperate.
I wonder. I still think maybe she just didn't have quite enough evidence to actually back things up.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of goes back to like the company should maybe set up some things to where the video camera in the office or something. But at the same time, he seemed kind of like a sneaky guy that can work around that.
Yeah.
So, okay. I think that's all it kind of wanted us to talk about. What do you guys want to talk about with the doohickey problem, though, last of all?
Is someone editing it?
Yeah.
Or is it like all of us? Okay.
I'm going to do the editing and, just kind of make sure everything's consistent. So big thing is just read over the rubric, make sure your sections are fulfilling the requirements as far as detail, being specific about the solutions, and then also referencing the material from the class. So if you say, they should have a sexual harassment awareness seminar every year or something like that, maybe reference something that recommends that from the EEOC, or what are the requirements by the EEOC for sexual harassment training for employees. I think those are the big things that we'll get graded on. Is it specific? Do we reference the materials? I don't know whether they want APA or footnotes for references. Maybe I should ask the instructor. But whatever you do, just clearly put your references, with any quotes, or if it's just you took some material, used some material in a section, just make a note at the bottom of your section, referenced this material, no specific quote or something like that.
Okay.
And we need a due date. It's due a week from yesterday, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't do schoolwork on Sunday. And is it Monday morning, like early? I think it is. So I'd like to have it edited by this Friday night, so everybody has a chance to look at it Friday night, Saturday morning. If you have any questions or concerns, you can just post it on the document. I hate editing in Google Docs, so I'll probably just cut and paste the text and then do it in a Word doc and submit it that way.
Are you going to submit it?
Yeah, I'll submit it.
Okay.
Okay.
But like I said, I'll I'll put the Word doc that I actually am going to submit on the email chain in a Word doc that you can open up. Excuse me. The formatting with Google Docs is just really tedious,
Yeah,
especially when it comes to footnotes and references and things like that. So, so if everybody could have their parts done by Thursday night this week, then I'll do the editing on Friday and submit the final document Friday night so everybody can review it. If I don't hear from anybody, I'll submit it probably Friday or Saturday night.
Okay, sounds great to me.
I finished my section this morning, so should be all done.
Okay, I checked the word count as of right now. We don't have, excuse me, we don't have the introduction or the conclusion, which I'll do the conclusion and the editing, I think is what I've got. And right now we're at about 2,500 words. So we need a minimum of 3,500. And I think the introduction and conclusion are just supposed to be a summary introduction and a summary paragraph at the conclusion. So I think maybe just from when I did a cursory look over what's been added to the doc so far, I think we could use a few more references. And if you just grab a quote from some of the material from the week that your section is in, just adding a couple of quotes that support your suggestions, I think that'll push our word count up. So I think each section, just check your word count on your section. I think we figured it up 3 sections, a summary, and then
words.
What?
Wasn't it 900 words?
Yeah.
Because that's what on mine I have 900 words. So.
And yeah, I'm not done with mine completely yet either, and so mine I still have 2 more solutions to go on mine, so I still have quite a bit left. Yeah.
Let's shoot for between 900 and 1,000.
Okay.
Because if we do 1,000, that's still only 3,000 words, and we got to come up with 500 words with the introduction and the conclusion. So shoot for at least 1,000 words. And if you think you've got too much, as I'm editing, if I see too much redundancy or whatever, I can trim it down. But we can go up to 5,000. So maybe we should each shoot for between 1,100 and 1,200 per section.
Okay.
I can add some in the editing too if I see a solution that may be a little weak as far as quantity of material or whatever.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I think I was just looking at the rubric right now, and the biggest chunk of the points comes from the solutions. Just having very detailed solutions is worth 25 points, and most everything else is worth 20 or 10. So, yeah, that's probably where we should spend most of the time. But yeah, I'll definitely get mine done and then ready by Thursday.
All right.
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
Anyone else have any questions about it? Thoughts? Okay, sounds good. Norman, if you want to post this video, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Sounds good.